Right, you lot. And The In-Betweeners is one of the greatest comedies this country's ever produced. Out of the four main guys, everyone's got their favourite. For me, it's Jay. Jay is such a brilliant character because of how realistic the character is. Everybody knows a guy like this guy. Even I do. Have you met Sam Campo-Smith? Person who's down in their life, who's miserable, who's insecure, who's probably got a family that hates them. So we've got to make these elaborate, ridiculous stories just to fit in, or think that they need to do that to fit in. And Jay perfectly captures that. Now, throughout the show, he tells a number of different lies. And because Jay has this reputation for lying, anything he says is immediately under huge scrutiny by his friends. Will and Simon throughout the show almost never believe anything he claims, while Neil will go along with just about anything he says. Well, all I want to do is take all these lies on a case-by-case basis and think, if Jay wasn't famous for lying, and we're analysing, because Jay had done these things case by case, which ones are actually possible, which ones are not, and which ones might he actually have done. Now let's set out the ground rules. Now first of all, I'm only including lies that aren't proven to be lies in the show. So throughout the show, his friends will go to extreme lengths to prove that Jay is lying. I mean, they even went in the film to Australia just to see that he was lying. So any lie like that where in the show it's proven he's obviously lying, or as the audience we know he's lying because that's the joke, like the Valentine's Day card incident, that won't be counted in this list. So things like Caravan Club, he was obviously lying. The gig episode where he's claiming he does all these drugs and goes to all these gigs all the time, which is obviously not true. Or the claim that he was doing all these cool tricks on a motorbike in Blue Peter, which again he obviously didn't do because, well, we saw what happened to him in a motorbike. Also only including the lies from the TV show, not from the films, because A, I want the smaller sample size, and B, he doesn't lie as much in the first film, and in the second film the main lie sequence is the claims of all these things he's doing in Australia, and obviously the boys go there and see that he's obviously highly exaggerated almost every element of his life in Australia. So I've separated these lies into 4 tiers. The first tier is impossible. These are the lies which a human just couldn't achieve the thing that Jay is claiming he did. Highly unlikely is the second tier. Now, what we're doing is we're not just looking at Jay as any random 17-year-old. We are taking into context who he is as a person, the life he lives and where he's from, and those sort of things do come into play. The third tier are exaggerated. A lot of people like Jay will tell a story that is half true, but will add in elements or will exaggerate certain elements of the tale. That's the tier for that. And finally, the plausible ones. Perhaps his friends judged him too harshly, maybe actually is got some truth in this thing that he's claiming. Okay, let's start with a
In Spain one year, me and my mate took a pedalo out and we went to Africa.
Classic. Now, Jay claims that one year, on holiday, that him and a mate who goes unnamed took a pedalo, yes, a pedalo, from Spain to Africa. Okay, well this is an easy impossible. A pedalo boat is not designed for that sort of trip. It's for calm lakes, you know what I mean? It's a children's ride, really. It's probably the slowest mode of transport on the planet. I think a pogo stick probably moves faster than a pedalo boat. Distance that they would need to go would be about 8 miles. There's no way, even in the most perfect of conditions, that any authorities would ever let them do this, and most likely they'd be stopped or saved before they even got going anywhere, so this is outright impossible. The second claim is that he knocked out a cow, and then the cow's mate stood on 2 legs and squirted milk at him.
Cow. It charged me, so I had to knock it out. 1 punch.
Nice.
I had to leg it though, because his mate saw what was going on, and no.
Now this just sounds like the kind of thing you see in a cartoon, and maybe that's where Jay's got it from, but that's not what the video we're doing. First of all, the second part is obviously false. Cows do not have the anatomy to be able to stand on 2 legs. They can't physically do that, and also they don't squirt milk like that naturally. Also, there's no way a human could knock out a cow. A cow would weigh about half a ton. There's no way Jay has that much power. He'd probably more likely break his own hand trying to knock out a cow. Another one for the impossible tier. Next claim is that he had sex with a girl on the under-13 West Ham football tour.
And you know that, do you?
Yes, I f***ed a Dutch girl.
Bollocks, never been Holland.
Yeah, I have. It was the West Ham under-13s football tour.
Now, we cannot say this is 100% impossible because such football tour does exist. It's not impossible that Jay is some proper baller, and at a very youthful little level, he went on a tour like this. I mean, Jeremy Lynch got trials at Arsenal, apparently. However, based off the description Jay gives of how this encounter went down, I think we
Right. Well, when I fingered her, she shit down my arm.
can safely say that this is obviously highly unlikely. Next claim is that he worked at his dad's firm, where he was apparently all week jumping JCBs, and at the end of the week he was paid £1,000 for doing
When I worked there last summer, I spent every day jumping JCBs over cement mixers.
Well, that's a lie.
And I got paid £1,000 at the end of
First
the
of all,
week.
there is no way, knowing the way that Jay's father treats him throughout the show, that he would have ever paid his son £1,000 to do work for him for a week. That is just, like, on a character level, absolutely impossible, pretty much. And obviously, there is no way the safety regulations at a place like that would allow Jay to be doing the activities that he's claiming. However, I do believe that he probably did do this work experience at some point at his dad's place, but he may have been paid a small sum. So I'm putting this in the exaggerated tier. I think the actual event happened, but Jay's description of the event and the fee was paid is highly inflated. Okay, the next one, it's a classic one, completed it, mate. That he got offered a role, not that he took on a role, we could instantly discard that, but no, he was offered a role by the England FA because he took Woking to the Champions League in 6 seasons, Football Manager.
Yeah, I know, but I got so good at it that the FA offered me a role in the England setup.
Did they?
I took Woking from the Conference to the Champions League in 6 seasons.
Actually, this is probably almost believable. And I'm going to put this in the plausible tier. And the reason for this is that we've actually seen this sort of thing happen in real life. Look at someone like Will Still, the current Southampton manager, who his start to coaching came through Football Manager. So the only issue is that there's no way that the England FA would offer a role to a 17-year-old. But maybe in some extreme case where Jay was just so great and was doing something revolutionary, maybe they'd give him a small role and maybe speak to him. So you could argue it's exaggerated here, but something's got to be plausible, and this is the most believable thing he probably says, so I'm going to put it in the plausible tier. Next one is that he knows someone builds Formula 1 cars.
I know a bloke who builds Formula 1 cars. He owes me a favour.
Now, the good thing on Jay's side for this fly is that usually when he tells one of his lies, he usually gets pressed for more details from his friends, and that usually leads to the lie collapsing. However, this time he isn't pressed and we don't get any further information. And the claim and phrase, know a guy, is very broad. And Jay's father, being in the industry for years, could know a guy who knows a guy who is some way connected to Formula 1. I'm going to put this in the exaggerated tier because I think Jay is heavily exaggerating this connection he has. But he could, in some deranged, backwards way, connected to a guy who builds Formula 1 cars. It's not impossible. The next claim is that he's got a photographic memory. I'm going to put...
Not allowed. Teachers say because I've got a photographic memory, it wouldn't be fair on the other
It's
kids.
highly unlikely. We see throughout the show that Jay is a below-average academic student, and to have this amazing ability, you'd think he'd be a bit better or a bit more intelligent than he actually is. And second of all, in the show, it is very clear that this is just him bragging to a girl and it not working. Claimers he had sex with a girl in the Tower of London.
When do you ever go to London?
All the time. I went last weekend. I found some girl up there.
Did you? Where was that then?
It was in the Tower of London.
This is highly unlikely. You cannot say it's impossible, but with the security and lack of privacy in the Tower of London, it's one of the most secure places on the planet, filled with tourists, all sorts of people, and so heavily guarded that there's no way that Jay and a random girl could have snuck in, realistically. So we're going to have to say this is highly unlikely. The next claim is that he got a blowjob from the cleaner when he was 12.
Bollocks!
I got one off the cleaner when I was 12.
Who was he?
Now, I'm going to have to say this is plausible, unfortunately, because we do see the kind of cases happen of quite questionable people. Some are being hired on school boards. I mean, we've already seen one in the show in Pedo Kennedy. I do feel bad for Jay, though, If this is the case, I think he would need to seek some sort of counselling for this trauma he was put through, and it should not be a brag, which is why he's probably lying. But at face value, it's believable. Okay, this next one only half counts. Well, that at the camping trip is apparently at a poker tournament with Danny Dyer and the Craze.
Private poker tournament with Danny Dyer and the Craze.
Now, he doesn't specify the kind of level of this poker tournament. It could just be some pub thing, which is the most realistic, because Danny Dyer and his dad are in no way professional poker players. But then the key flaw, as they put in the show, is that the Craze were all dead by the mid-90s or in jail, and the show takes place in the mid to late 2000s. So obviously, this is a lie. So I'm going to have to put it in impossible, just based on the fact that some of the people here are dead. He has a missed call from Ralph Lauren.
No, I've got a missed call from Ralph Lauren. Didn't even ring, did it?
Argue that they disprove this in the show by saying that his phone didn't ring, but his phone could have been on silent, so it's not impossible that. But it is highly unlikely that a billionaire designer is going to be phoning up a random 17-year-old from Kent, who isn't even the most conventionally attractive member of his friend group, let alone has any reason for him to be phoning him. So this is highly unlikely. Can fit into a microwave.
That's bullshit.
That your mate can squeeze himself into a microwave?
This is impossible. We all saw what happened when TGF Bro tried to put a microwave on their head, and yeah, so not only is this a huge health and safety violation, but also no human, not even a baby or a person with dwarfism, or with any sort of stunted growth, not even the smallest people on the planet, could fit into such a thing. Maybe a kitten, if you're pushing it. I wouldn't recommend that either, though. Next up, he claims that his dad fought Muhammad Ali in a boxing fight, and he beat him on a points decision.
That your dad fought Muhammad Ali as an amateur and beat him?
It was on a points decision.
The boxing career of Muhammad Ali is obviously all public knowledge, and you will not find anyone with the last name Cartwright as someone who beat Muhammad Ali. So obviously, this is impossible and a lie. Another lie. He claims that his father used to jack Ferraris for the mafia.
He used to jack Ferraris for the mafia. How is that?
This is highly unlikely. The mafia does not exist in this country. It is not a concept. And I'm going to put this in the exaggerated tier, because it's not hard to believe that Mr. Cartwright could have a criminal past. However, there is no way it is in any way tied to the mafia. Moving on. Now, this next claim is part of the whole drug gig episode, but he does claim at one point that him and his mate got a dog stoned. The dog then ran away and came back.
He got his dog stoned, and he got the munchies, so he ran away for an hour. When he'd come back, he nicked a packet of hobnobs from the all-night garage.
This one's actually plausible, right? Now, ignoring the fact that we prove in the episode the mate doesn't exist and that he doesn't do these drugs, dogs are a biscuit that a dog could possibly come back for. However, we obviously know this is a lie, but on face value, it is plausible. The final claim we're going to talk about is the claim that he knew a guy who broke his dick in half during sex.
Broke his knob in half.
Jay, you can sort me out, right?
Now, this is possible. These sort of fractures are real. That was an odd Google search. The phrase "he knew a guy" again is very vague, and he isn't pushed on this, so I'm going to say this is exaggerated from Jay, because he may have seen a story on Facebook about this happening, but I don't think he knows a guy personally that this happened to. Now, let me put the final tier list on the screen for you. Now, with a bit of mental gymnastics, there's actually one or two lies that he says that are actually plausible, but most of the time, he's exaggerating stuff, let's be honest. But even the ones that we say are plausible have some element of exaggeration or some caveat we have to make. So, Jay, I think we have to call you a compulsive liar, mate. I'm really sorry. Yeah, shock of the century, Jay tells lies that are not true. That's what we learned from this video. I hope it was useful. This was a completely irrelevant video. Like, I should be talking about the Epstein files right now. Or like, anything relevant, but you know what, no. I've got videos coming soon. I have no idea what I'm going to do next. I hope you enjoyed this. Goodbye.